all the trees regarding our gender identity and sexuality. When there's no place like home, empty air, an empty establishment. Friends with Dorothy, fighting for your civil rights. Out on the cruel streets tonight.
I'm joined today in the studio by a new name to Irish theatre scene, which is Conor Cupples, who's coming to us all the way from beautiful Belfast. So Conor, welcome to Dublin City-FM and welcome to LGBTQ+life.
Hi, yeah, you all right?
Yeah, Conor, Dublin audiences are going to see you for the first time next week in the Fringe. But tell us, what's your background in acting, and what was your, what was your drive to get on the boards?
So I've been an actor, writer, and like theatre maker is the weirdest term that I've stole from people since I've been up in Belfast. You know, I was doing always sort of bits and bobs up here, and then in about 2015, I went around to Scotland to get my degree in acting and musical theatre. Came back to Belfast just during the sort of height of COVID. So, you know, you have all these ideas of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And then we kind of shut down for about 2 years. But it gave us all a bit of time to sit in. And during that time, we kind of started thinking about making our own work and doing our own things. Done an amazing course with a theatre in Belfast called Tinderbox. And they were brilliant for basically giving a lot of artists the tools and the sort of inspiration to be like, you can do your own stuff and make your own work and just love it.
Yeah. It's something I always say to people from Belfast, because unlike a lot of people down here, I actually have a love affair with Belfast. It goes back a long way, and it goes back to the mid '60s. And I always say to people, before we had the shall we say the disharmony that went on for a while, Belfast was a much hipper city than Dublin was, particularly in the city in the '60s. And I'm hoping that we're starting to see some of that come back again. What's your take on that, Conor?
I mean, it's really weird to hear Belfast be called hip, but I think everyone sees their own city as like, oh my. But I think there's something really cool going on now, especially with sort of younger artists coming on the scene. Especially again since kind of COVID lifting, is that there's such a drive and there's such an energy and passion for people to have these really cool and mad stories be told. And I'm seeing it everywhere. You know, you have like the Outburst Festival, who are really good for supporting like younger queer artists. You have places like the Mac and the Lyric going further and further with helping to support new and upcoming artists tell their stories. And it's just made this lovely wee boom for younger artists coming up a bit earlier and seeing all the class work they're doing. So I think actually you're right, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's strange you should mention that, because 20 years ago or thereabouts, when I started in Dublin radio, people would happily tell you, oh, I've never been to Belfast and I wouldn't go there. It's actually very cool for people from here, particularly to go up to Belfast Pride. And it's great to see that interact. And people come from Belfast down here for Dublin Pride as well. So it's great to see that interaction just on a human level, is it not?
Mm-hmm. No, it is. It is really nice. You know, I've been down to Dublin a few times. I had a partner who lived in Dublin for a while, and it was really nice to just get different parts of Ireland and see different parts of Ireland, especially whenever there's been a couple of productions that have come up from Dublin to Belfast as well, and they've been really personal. And I think it was Stephen Fay done a production a while ago about sort of his life in Dublin and his queer life in Dublin, and it just sounded like such a fun, mad experience, and it was so good to hear those different experiences between people from the cities.
Yeah, it's funny you should call him Stephen because I've always known him as Stephen Fay when he.
Stephen Fay, yes, sorry.
But that was what he was calling himself. He may have come back to Stephen.
No, it is Stephen. I was getting my head there. I think I'm just nervous trying to remember his name because I love him.
Well, yeah, no, he did. The first time I ever saw him was at, I think it was at one of the fringes as well, where he appeared doing his autobiographical, I Believe in Fairies. I don't know if you've seen that. And then he did it later on again at Dublin Pride, which was, shall we say, a revelation. And I gather he may have gone off to the US now. I'm not quite too sure.
Yes, I heard he was off doing something, but he's also I think he's one of the judges for the Dublin Fringe as well.
Wouldn't surprise. He's Stefan is an identity. That's the way we will. They will put it. When we talk about particularly your part of the world, Conor, most people here, we're going to think of two things. We're going to think particularly Game of Thrones. Did you have any part in that?
No, I'm actually, I think I'm the only actor in Belfast that never had anything to do with Game of Thrones. Because I was sort of in Scotland, England for like the sort of 4 or 5 years, and I was too young before that. And I came back and everyone was like, "Oh, sure, you never do nothing for Game of Thrones. You never want anything for Game of Thrones." And I was like, "No, but every single other person I know has. So I'm just gonna take the the credit by proxy."
No, I have to admit, I know several people from down here who were in Game of Thrones. They were killed, I must admit, but then again, so was everybody else. The other piece as well, I particularly enjoyed, I'm not too sure how many others did, but I thought it was absolutely fabulous, was Kenny Branagh's autobiographical of the city. Did you watch it yourself? Belfast.
No, I actually haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's been very, very good.
Yeah. I must. We loved it when we saw it because we thought this has never been told from that perspective. Because you get lots of stories about Belfast told from, if you like, a Republican perspective, but this has never been told, if you like, from a Unionist perspective. And it was it's very well acted. Jamie Dornan is great. What's her name from? Katrina Balfe, she was terrific as well. The only one who wasn't, Kieran Himes was exceptional. And the only one who wasn't was Dame Dench, but what can you say? She's
I heard that her accent wasn't the best, and I was going, but you know what? It's so hard to do a Belfast accent. Like it's one of the hardest, weirdest accents in the world because it's just rolling noises.
Well, maybe you should watch a movie called Ordinary Decent Criminal, which had the notorious Kevin Spacey. It was shot down here. And Kevin, in the same sentence, he effortlessly goes from a Dublin to a Belfast accent.
I mean, that is a talent in itself, like, isn't it?
Yeah. But tell us, Conor, the piece that you've got at the Dublin Fringe this year, you've written it yourself. What was your thinking in creating this? It's called Hes Perfect.
Yes, so it's called Hes Perfect. And originally, it was sort of inspired by an experience that myself and a lot of other sort of people my age had grown up, particularly like MA people or male presenting people, where there was this sort of idealized body image that we'd had and I think sort of taken in from when we were younger. And it's sort of something that kind of stayed with us. And we kind of make jokes about it. Like, it's the underwear section at Asda. It's all the mannequins that you see about. It's the fact that every model, it's just, you were constantly told there's this way to look if you're going to look like a man and present as a man. And it was about taking that and sort of breaking it down and deconstructing it and making it funny. So we had like this thing of like building the perfect man. If you can't find that perfect, build it yourself. But that nearly that vibe of it's impossible to make that, so you would have to make it yourself because it is all sort of fake and constructed. So there's something there. And then when we were doing sort of studying about it, all these ideas of sort of male beauty and male presenting beauty, the real turning point for us was whenever we were looking into things of the alt-right and the far right, and we kind of realized there was a lot of similarity in the way the far right think men should be, and the way this perfect standard that a lot of queer men have internalized should be.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to play with that and explore that. And, you know, through the study, and we found out that the first openly gay politician was a fellow called Ernst Röhm. And
good old Ernst. How can we forget about Ernst?
Good Ernst. Like, we'll love to see it. Like, well, my God. But he then became a sort of filter for us to do this. So in the actual show, you're watching this fella kind of be like, I'm going to make the perfect man, but he's nearly taken in every wrong way to do it. And he nearly ends up basing it on Ernst Röhm.
Well, he came to a bit of a sticky end himself, Ernst, didn't he?
Yep, he did. And it's that story though, like, you know, Ernst Röhm kind of thought that, you know, as long as he kept the ideals and did what he was told, he could be, you know, sort of far right and gay, and in the end it didn't really matter for him. And the whole thing's kind of a parable for that. You're watching somebody just kind of be complacent and letting bad things happen to people, and you see how that can turn somebody. Yeah,
well, dare I say it, Ernst, I don't want to digress too much here. Ernst, he survived quite well when he was useful to certain people, but he never reckoned on Heinrich Himmler, the chicken farmer, who basically saw Ernst as a rival, and that was the end. That was the end of Ernst. And I believe he might have even been having a bit of a party the night when they all, something that we might even call chemsex these days. When he ended it. Can I ask you then, Conor? I mean, although you may not imagine it now, but back in the day, I used to have hair as ginger as yours. Does the perfect man, does he have ginger hair?
You know, we talked about that, because when you're making your own boyfriend, like, what do you do and how do you do it? And I kind of thought, nah, maybe you shouldn't be ginger because I'm ginger, and you might look like one of them couples that could be brothers.
Something I have to ask you this question, because I've been asking it to people over the last 6 months or so. I've never met a person who was ginger, who wasn't bullied at some stage. Now, we all know that queer people are bullied as kids, but what was your experience? Is this a more enlightened generation, or did you cop the same crap that we did growing up because of your fabulous hair color?
No, I was absolutely rinsed as a child. I was bullied like mad for being ginger. I actually, I'm not even too sure what it was about it, but I think I might have lived through and this what I call the change, because at some point later on, I think just one day I woke up and instead it was like, oh God, he's ginger, and it was something to be bullied for. The next day I woke up and everyone was like, God, that's kind of sexy. Like, God, that's a really nice, like, God, your hair's beautiful, your hair's lovely. And I was like, when did we all just decide that this was now a good thing? Because I've been getting nothing but stick for this for like 10 years.
Again, I don't want to buy into this too much. I used to cop it badly as a kid, but when it really started to get stupid was around the time of puberty. People, because you know what boys are like. People used to say, "Do you have ginger hair?" Said, no, the blue. But it is strange, isn't it? Because people don't realize, although we do, that ginger is the most unique genetic mutation. It is there in a few cultures, but it's we are unique, and I suspect that's where it all comes from, Conor. They're just jealous.
Honest, I mean, it's pure envy. Like when I realized my hair was naturally like really curly, and I was like, "What do you do to your hair?" And I was like, "I just put water on it and then walk out." And I just look this amazing all the time. I will reveal none of my secrets. You just can all leave me alone now.
And mine was the opposite, because it was dead straight. I mean, I was, I won't say what happened when I used to walk through the red light areas of Dublin, but I put it because I was also quite slim at the time. But Tommy, this play, it's coming with a little bit of a warning, I gather. And if I could just give me a second, if I could pull this up here, what it's saying is that contains references to mental health and depression. Should that be taken as more than just something on the program, or how serious is that in relation to anybody who's coming to watch it?
We're sort of watching someone start off really happy and fun, and the more you realize that, you know, this forced way they have to be is starting to depress them. Like, you're nearly watching someone have a mental breakdown but laughing through it with Play-Doh. It's more like there's not much in the show that's very dark or very, like, you know, very dark or very, you know, disturbing. It's just kind of the process of how we go. But through the show, you're kind of watching someone and you don't know if they're going to be radicalized, or you don't know if they're going to kind of wake up and wise up to themselves. But you're seeing them do it through this lovely, wholesome, laughy wee medium. So it's nothing too dark, nothing too mad. It's more just what's happening, like what we're not saying, what's not being shown type thing.
Yep. Is there any outside influence that you drew on when you came to putting this together? Because when I was looking at it, it struck me that there's an element. I don't know if you've ever come across the movie Lars and the Girl.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's worth a look. It's one of the Ryans. I don't know whether it's Reynolds or the other one. And basically, he has a mannequin as a girlfriend. So there'll be similar elements to it. And it just struck me because this is something that's I know that they're using to basically get certain ideas across in some of the courses in Trinity College, particularly for mental health nurses. So might be worth consideration in that regard.
Something cool to back in.
It's a 60-minute play, which is quite a bit for many in the Fringe that I've seen. They're only 30, 45 minutes. That's quite an evening on stage for one person, Conor.
Yeah. We had that for a while, where when it was first sort of being written, you did kind of have that, like, oh God, is this going to be me talking on stage for like the whole time? But we brought in, there's, you know, voiceover and there's like commentary throughout. So it isn't just my voice that we're going to be hearing on the stage the whole time. And also between you and me and everyone listening. Originally it was sort of 55 minutes. And I messaged Fringe and I was like, I'm scared I'm going to do that thing where I write so much, then I put it on its feet and be like, oh, it's actually an hour and a half. So can we get an extra 10 minutes on? And they were like, yes, of course. So it's thankfully not, you know, we didn't want it to feel like a TED talk. We wanted it to feel like a fun sort of interactive and changing experience on stage for the time that we had. And I think we've done all right. I think we've done good.
So tell me, is Dublin Fringe going to be, if you like, the world premiere, or is it has it had a bit of a run out in Belfast, or has it had a bit of a run out anywhere else up in your part of the world?
Not so much a run. We were very heavily, very delighted, as we were very supported by the Outburst Queer Arts Festival up in Belfast, and they kind of gave us. I say us, I'm using the royal we, you know, when you get into the habit. We had time and space and just basically room to write and room to grow. And we had a sort of 5-10 minute showing of the concept and the idea at the Brian Freel up in Belfast, just to kind of pitch, this is what our concept could be. Do you think it's interesting? Do you think it could work? And the feedback from that was really cool. And we had a lot of people saying, you know, I would love to see a full version of this. And that wasn't just for my show. I first supported 7 or 8 artists through that, who are now all producing their own work, and all of them were really well received. So that's the support we've had through then. And we had Ross Anderson up in the room with us, helping us with dramaturgy for the rehearsals. So we've had support and we've had sort of little check-ins, but this will be the premiere of the actual show for the Fringe.
Well done. Yeah, have you played in Dublin before, or will this be your first outing?
This was my first time, which is very scary and very exciting.
What's your familiarity with the venue? Have you seen it yet, or have you had a sneak preview?
Yes, so I know that Bewley's was also, if I'm remembering this right, Bewley's was the premiere of My Left Nut as well, from Michael Patrick and stuff. Yeah. He was another artist up in Belfast on a show there, and apparently it's a really class venue. And I was down visiting a friend of mine in Dublin, and I was like, you know what, I'll go and see the venue, go and see Bewley's. And I walked into this sort of massive, really cool looking restaurant, and I went, hi, I'm not sure if I'm in the right place. I'm here for the Fringe. And people just kept pointing up. And I was like, oh, okay. And I kept going upstairs, like, hi, I'm here for the Fringe. I went up an flight of stairs into the space and into the room. And I was laughing because inside I'd just seen like full bottles of wine, full bottles of vodka. And I was like, I'm definitely not supposed to be in here by myself, but I'm here now. So it's a lovely space, a lovely venue. It's quite intimate, and it's quite like, it's perfect for a show like this. That's very, come with me on a journey. It's a lovely, lovely space.
Yeah, no, I was going. You've picked the term I was going to use, because I covered a couple of events that were there, well, for the previous Fringes, and it's what I call very much an intimate venue, in the sense that the audience and the performers, they engage very closely with each other. Does that make you nervous, or does that even fill you with, shall we say, more confidence?
It makes me quite excited. I was a bit like, when I first realized, I think as a performer for a good while, you do get used to the sort of, the fourth wall, as in you have the lights, you have the curtains, you have everything separating you. And in spaces where, nope, it's you and them, you just have to tell a story and tell a good story. I think that makes really classy moments for theatre.
Yep. Clearly, this will appeal to people of your generation, and I'm talking about the under 30s here, Conor. Do you think it'll also appeal to people of my generation? And I'm talking about the those of us who have our bus passes and and who were around when the Queen was first coronation.
Yeah, I think I do. A thing that we found, when obviously there's a focus on beauty standard and how the body should be, we actually found that, like, and not even like, I mean, you say you're happy with bus passes when the Queen was coronated. We actually found that, see, this standard has been there since the ancient Greeks. Yeah. Like, this is something that has been constant and consistent. So I think if you've ever kind of looked at body image and looked at male bodies and going, why do we say things should be like that? And also noticing that, like, there's a resurgence for that. I think that aspect of it is relatable to anyone. Yeah. And the time we kind of live in right now, where the kind of far right and alt right are coming up again. I think it's relevant to talk about that and talk about them once again. And Ernst Rome kind of being the lens by which we analyze how people could be radicalized, even queer people, I think is really relevant to talk about. I think anyone that's interested in politics would be really interested.
But again, and it's funny you should mention that, because I was living in Australia in the 80s when HIV came in, and I had a very good friend, and he was HIV positive. And what he was telling me was around the mid to late 80s, when people started this whole gym culture, because it wasn't there before that much, people of taking roids and taking, doing the big bulking up. And he said to me at the time, one of the main reasons why people did that is so that it appeared they didn't have HIV. So in many respects, the reason why people go for body image may vary, but it's also, if you like to toss out a negative as well. How do you feel about that, Conor?
I think there's a lot of truth to that, actually. And I know there was that discussion that people sort of back then, they wanted to look healthy. Yeah. And so the idea and way to look healthy was to have muscle and to be built. But like, where did the idea that you have to have big muscles and look like that means you're healthy come? Do you know what I mean? It's even that's informed and comes down through. But again, we've always had this culture, for one reason or another, of wanting the perfect body. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's also wanting to appear young, isn't it? None of us want to appear old. That's the other side of the coin. Yeah.
Well, we had a section we had a section where we were going, where do we think we could gather a sort of large portion of opinions? So we had a sort of mini call out where I did actually have people help me with this, where it was like, anyone who wants to share any messages they've got, through the apps, through Tinder, through Grindr, through Scruff, through Hinge, through Bumble, like just send us them in, anything to do with body, anything to do with image. And there was a huge supply of messages, and a lot of it was like, slim, no one over 30, blonde hair, blue eyes, white, and you're kind of like, we're still having that, we're still getting that. So we incorporated those messages in show, and there's like a verbatim moment where we go through all these texts and everything in it said is real. And when you think about that, we were like, that is mental.
Do you have a section for Turkish teeth?
Section for turkey teeth. No, but I should bring that in. It'd be good to maybe get like a set of perfect dentures and stick them on the mannequin. I think would that work?
Well, we've even moved on from Turkish teeth. It's Turkish hair replacement now. I mean, although you and I would have trouble because I don't think there are a lot of red-haired Turks out there. But anyway, and you wouldn't need it anyway, Conor. But look, Conor, unfortunately, we're going to run out of time. But tell the people where it's on, when it's on, and how they can get to see Hes Perfect.
Yes, so Hes Perfect is on at Bewley's Cafe from the 19th to the 25th of September. They're all evening shows, sort of between either 6 or 8 o'clock. We can grab tickets off the Dublin Fringe, and there's so much cool shit happening, cool stuff happening at the Fringe. Go see it.
Yeah, look, we are delighted to welcome you to Dublin. I think it's going to be a great show. In the best traditions of theatre, we say to you, break a leg. Come and see Conor Cupples, Bewley's Theatre, preview the 19th, and last night, the 24th. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's only basically it's a couple of pints to get in, really, isn't it? That's the price of admission now. Conor, it's been a delight talking to you. We wish you all the very best. And we'll also say break a leg because we don't want to put the mockers on you as well. But
thank you so much, Michael.
Couldn't see the haunted forest for the trees regarding our gender identity and sexuality. When there's no place like home, empty air, an empty establishment. Friends with Dorothy, fighting for your civil